Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode with your girl, Audrey Codner from ACCUPLACER Tutoring. I hope you guys are doing well this evening, as this is my second time going live today. So early on, we were doing some free PSAT review questions of mathematics, of course, because you sure as hell don't want me to teach your child anything with English. You see, Exhibit A. No one wants that. Your child will surely fail. But had some good times in there, had a few followers. But as usual, I always come on in the evenings. I know right now I'm coming on a half an hour early because you know what? I just found myself just sitting here staring at the computer and looking at, clips of stuff. And I'm like, what am I doing? Let me just go live. Everyone keeps saying, just go live, just go live. Well, then here we are, just going live. All right. So as you guys are coming on in, thank you for coming back. I know it's a lot of people were here earlier, are actually coming in for the evening part. Hey, welcome on in. I see another namesake. Hey, Audrey, how are you? So as you guys are coming in, go ahead and tap away because remember, I don't get started until there is at least 1K on the way, all right? So just to kind of give you a run through as you guys are starting to tap, we are going to do properties of exponents. So this came up today. We were doing something and there was a negative exponent and a lot of people were like, wait, why is it there, not here? And I was like, you know what? It's a whole thing. So instead of me just forcing you to go somewhere else, I figured, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to break down the properties of exponents. So while you guys are tapping, go ahead and just take a quick little sneak peek. Just kind of revisit a little bit. So one thing, we have what's called a power, okay? 6 to the third power, okay? Or 6 raised to the third power. We hear that a lot. And then later on, we start hearing 6 cubed, okay? Because we're looking at all 3 dimensions, 3 cubed dimensions. So the 6 is basically your base. This is what's being multiplied. The exponent is telling you how many times you're going to be multiplying this base to itself. So 6 to the third power is basically saying 6 times 6 times 6. And you know that 6 times 6 gives me 36. And 36 times 6 gives me 216. It's very nice that I use 3 6s for Sunday. I just realized that. Yeah, I feel the flames. I feel the flames. But anyway, but this is what it's not. It is not 6 times 3. There's so many times. If this number is smaller in stature than this, that means this is your exponent. If they are the same size, there are whole numbers that you can multiply. Okay? So pay attention to the size. Size matters. It does. Don't let anyone fool you. It does. Okay? I'm already coming to flames. Look at me. I got the 6 6s on here. Do you not feel the flames coming out of here? All right. So this is basically what we're doing. We're looking at all the different properties that is associated with exponents to kind of help ease some things. Now, if you have one of my little handy dandy notebooks, you will actually see that there is a section dedicated to the properties of exponents. So if we take a look, we're going to be looking at the laws of products. We're looking at the law of quotients, zero exponents, negative exponents, power of a power, power of a product, and then lastly, power of a quotient. So we're going to address all of these tonight and breaking stuff down. All right, awesome. Thank you so much. So here we go. I know a lot of people generally always starts with the product of power or the power of products. Sorry, I'm trying to grab my pen. All right, but I'm going to start with the easiest one. So the easiest one is like our zero exponents. Now, every time we have a zero exponent, this is what happens. So if I have, let me say for my first example, if I have 7 raised to the 0 power, immediately everyone would say, oh, the answer is 0. No, stop it. Okay? Like all numbers, there was a start. Think about it. You have 10 digits. When we look at the different types of numbers, we start with the counting numbers, our counting digits, our natural numbers, the ones that comes with us, okay? And we always start with what? 1. Okay, so anything raised to the 0 power is the basic start, which is 1. So every single solitary time, it doesn't matter if it's 1 digit or a whole expression with fractions, radicals, also weird functions and everything to the T. If it has a parenthesis around it and it's raised to the 0 power, you don't have to do anything inside that parenthesis because everything in that parenthesis is being raised to the 0 power. So your answer is 1. Okay? So each and every time. So if I take it to say -5, if that -5 is inside of a parenthesis and it's being raised to the 0 power, my answer is 1. Okay? Now, what happens if it's -4 raised to the 0 power? What is my answer if I have -4 with no parenthesis is raised to the 0 power? What do you think? Yep, good, Mela. Any number raised to 0 power is 1. What's happening here? Wonder's saying it's 1. Okay, Kai is saying it's -1. Okay, and if you're not sure, okay, now you see it's switched to -1. Okay, and if you're not sure, you can put a question mark in the chat. I'm perfectly fine with that. Okay, that's why we're here, so we can make these adjustments and just clarify our thinking, right? So before, the -5 was inside of a parenthesis. And this whole thing, the negative and the 5, is being raised to 0 power. That's how we got 1. But this time, there's no parenthesis. So the only thing that's being raised to the 0 power is 4. So that means this 4 raised to the 0 power would give me 1. And the negative just tacks on to that 1. Okay? It's not -4 being raised to the power of 0. It's basically -4, but just the 4 is being raised to the 0 power. Okay, makes sense? All right. So there is a power of parentheses. That's why I use parentheses a lot, especially if I'm substituting negative numbers. Okay. So that's pretty much for the 0 power. We don't have to beat it like a dead horse. So a lot of people will just know it's like, okay, if I have a base and it's being raised to 0 power, my answer will be 1. All right. So for the next one, let's go with the product rule. Now, for the product rule, if I have to have the same basis. When they have the same base, and I'm multiplying, hence product, I keep my base, but I add my exponents. Okay, so the key thing is they have to have the same base before I can do anything. So if I had okay, so if I have 2 raised to the 4th times 2 raised to the 5th, they both have the same base, which is the 2's. So I'm carrying over the 2. But what I'm actually doing is I got those 4 exponent of 4 here plus the exponent of 5 here. So when you're multiplying, you're adding the exponents. So you'll just simply say 2 raised to the 9th power. Okay, so they have to have the same base. So if I had 2, I'm obsessed with 2's lately. Okay, so here we have 2 to the 3rd power times 3 to the 2nd power. So if we're trying to do this, we can't go any further. We can't add the exponents because they don't have the same basis. So it's just simply 2 to the 3rd, unless you want to simplify it, times 3 squared. Okay, and here's another thing. We are not using x's to represent multiplication. When you get into algebra, x is basically an unknown variable. It could be representing a number, not the operation of multiplication. So if you want to represent multiplication from here on in, especially if you're in algebra, you're either using a dot, okay, to represent it, parentheses, or a bracket, okay, like a closed bracket. Okay, all right, so you cannot do anything when it comes to exponents. If you want, you could say, all right, 2 to the 3rd power, that's 8, and then 3 to the 2nd power, that's 9. 9 times 8, that will give me 72. Hey, that's fine. But before you start diving deeper, and especially if we're trying to do math for any kind of assessment, once you get an answer, take a look at your answer choices. And if you see a 72, okay, that's your answer. But if you don't see a 72 and you see like a 2 to the 3rd power times 3 to the 2nd power, all right, that's where you stop, okay? So there's going to be times you got to, control yourself a little bit, okay? All right, so it's not going to be 6 to the 5th power. You can't multiply the bases because they are not the same. Okay, you cannot do that. And I bet you a lot of you guys do that and you're wondering why you get it wrong. So stop it. Okay, so it can't be that. What if you see both as an option? You won't. Butterfly, you won't. But that was a good question, but you won't. It'll be one or the other. Yeah. So the only time you can do like terms, that's not with exponents. Okay? That is not with exponents. Not like this. Okay? But you're thinking, which is good. You are thinking. All right. So if I have, next one's going to be the quotient rule. And again, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. Okay. So if I have the base of m divided by the base of n, that means my two bases are the same. That means I have my base, but I am subtracting my exponents. Okay. Zoom in a little bit. All right, so quotient. Quotient is division. So if they have the same bases, you are subtracting the exponents. So let's say 3/12 over 3/4. Okay. So 3/12 divided by 3/4. Okay. We're just simplifying. The reason why we're not solving, because there's no equal sign. There's no equal x or equal y, so we're just simplifying. Okay. Good question. Because a lot of people get simplifying and solving mixed up. So unless there is an unknown variable in the mix and you see an equal sign, that's when you're going to be solving. But if you just see like fractions without, or fractions of an equation without the equation, that's an expression. So we simplify. Okay. So Shantae, hey, welcome back. We'll be on the ASVAB. Hells yes, Jordan squared. Yes, anything, yes. Usually my PMs are always dealing, unless I'll tell you ahead of time, majority of the stuff, anything that I'm doing, is going to be on ASVAB. It's going to be GED, ACCUPLACER, TEAS test, IBEW, any high school equivalency test, whatever letters they want to use. They're also going to be using in the praxis or teacher certification, all of that. Okay, even if you want to do the first praxis, they always have exponents in there. Okay, all right. Well, it's Jordan, Caesar, or J squared. Okay, so I don't know how to find I. Well, I's are not going to be involved in this because I's only come when you have a negative underneath your square root. Okay, because that's what I is. I is the square root of -1. All right, so since we have the same base, we got our base of 3, and we always start with the numerator minus the denominator, okay? So it's going to be 12 minus 4. So keeping that base of 3, 12 minus 4, that would give us our 8. So our answer is 3/8. Okay? So when you're dividing, you're subtracting your exponents. When you're multiplying, you're adding your exponents. Okay? Think about it. When you multiply, you're making things bigger. What else makes things bigger? Addition. When you're dividing, you're making things smaller. What else makes things smaller? When you're subtracting. Okay, they always go hand in hand, regardless if we're doing exponents, if we're solving equations, it's always going to be that same method. Okay, all right. So let's try another one. So if we have x squared divided by x to the 5th. Okay. X squared divided by x to the 5th. Okay, very close, Jasmine. Muna. Welcome back, Muna. Kasha, yeah. Kasha, yes. So what's 2 minus 5? Just finish it out. Okay, Shantae. I'm well, thank you. I hope you're doing all right. Okay. You're Israel. Good. Something's a little missing, but I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, Laurent. Oh, Laurent, you're back. Welcome back. Okay. All right. Thanks for the follow, that girl. All right. So, if we think about it, okay, I'm going to show this to you a couple of ways. So, one, we have x squared divided by x to the fifth. And like I said, you have the same base of x, so then it'll be 2 minus 5. Now 2 minus 5, that gives me a negative 3. Okay. I'm going to leave it like this for a second because that's going to lead us into our next one. But if I want, I could expand this. Okay, so let me put it in red over here. So if I have x squared over x to the fifth, x squared is the same as saying x times x. X to the fifth is the same as saying x multiplied by itself 5 times. If I were to eliminate, meaning anything divided by itself is 1. So x divided by x, that'll give me a 1. X divided by x, that'll give me a 1. Okay, and last time I checked, 1 times 1 gives me 1. What do you notice? Okay, I am Israel saying 1/3. My tutoring is usually 1-to-1, but if you guys have a small group, we can do small group as well. Okay, yes. So we have 3 x's in the denominator, right? So the 1 is going to stay in the numerator, but x to the third power, because that's what x times x times x is left in the denominator. But when we did our subtraction, let's see if I can get both of them in here. When I did our subtraction, we had x raised to the negative third power. Okay? Yes. These two things are equivalent. Okay? When you have a negative exponent, which we're about to talk about, you have to make it positive because a lot of math teachers don't like for you to leave a negative as your exponent. When you get older into college, they don't care. But in high school level, they care. I don't know why. I didn't invent it. I just know how to translate it. Okay? So with the negative 3, right now, this is considered x to the negative third power over 1. In order for us to change it to a positive exponent, we have to flip it. Okay? We have to flip it. We have to flip it down. We have to get the reciprocal. Good job, guys. Yes, I do. I definitely tutor Algebra 2 as well. So this is going to lead us to our next one. Because you're probably like, oh, okay, quotient, your numerator, the exponent of the numerator minus the exponent of the denominator, and you can get your answer. But let's talk about negative. So with the negative exponent rule, let me put it next to it. So if you have a base with a negative exponent, you're always going to either drop it or flip it, whatever you want to call it, so you can get a positive exponent. So what's happening here is this b raised to the negative n is actually, if you make it into a fraction, you put it over 1. By putting it over 1, it doesn't devalue the power at all, okay? Because anything divided by 1 is itself. But it helps us to understand what's happening over here. In order to make it positive, this needs to drop and this needs to pop up, okay? Especially if it's a 1. So that's why you got your 1 over b raised to the positive n. The act of dropping changed the signage. Now, devil's advocate here. Remember me, 666 earlier? Yeah, sorry. What happens, so I'm going to write the word or. What happens if it's already in the denominator and it was already negative? Well, then we need to flip it up. So it's going to be b raised to the n over 1, which is just simply b raised to the n. Okay, so this is going to be the rule. No, they never want to keep it stay negative. Hey, Marvelli, how are you? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. All right. That's up there. All right, so let me show you a couple examples. So depending where, if the negative is in the denominator, you got to push it to the top to make it positive. If the negative exponent's in the numerator or it's a whole number, you got to push it to the bottom to make it positive. Okay, that's what this is saying. But let me show you through example so you won't get all kinds of like, what? Okay. What's happening? Okay, let's look at it. So if I have, let's say, 5 raised to the negative third power. Okay. My base is a whole number. Then I have a negative exponent. So if you want to think of it almost like this is going to be over 1. And what happens in order to make it positive, you want this whole thing to drop into the denominator. So what's happening is now you got 5 raised to the positive third, but it's over 1. And if you look at your answer choices and you don't see 5 to the third power, that means they want you to solve it. So 5 to the third power, that's 5 times 5 times 5. If I were to simplify this even further, I don't have to, but if my answer choices were called me to do that, what would I get as an answer? Yeah, they never want to keep, they will always tell you to have the exponents as a positive. They will always do that. What's 5 to the third power? And don't say 15. Good job. All right, good. So Jasmine, 125. Shantae, 1 over 125. Kaya, 1 over 125. Marvelly, thank you. 1 over 125. Okay. Ooh, one dime? One dime, I think, with the 125. Good. So we got 1 over 125. So you could see the answer like this, or it might be a little more simplified like this. Okay? All right, so that's basically what's happening. Now, if I have, let's say we have 1 over 4 raised to the negative second power. Let me see if I turn my light on. There we go. Now we can see a little bit. Okay, what do you think? 1 over 4 raised to the negative second power. Oh, you're taking this algebra soon? Good. So you'll be all set. Okay, Jasmine, be careful. Be careful. Okay, in God we trust. So 4 with the exponent of 2, Kai of 4 squared. Okay, Kai is breaking it down to 16. Heather's saying 16. Marvelly saying 13. 16? No. I don't know how you get that. I'm assuming that's a typo. Okay. Ephraim saying 1/16. Careful. Okay. Alicia saying 16. Marvelly saying 1/11. Maybe 16. Sorry, 1/16. Okay. So we got Chris saying 16. Oh, Chris Kringle. Ho, ho, ho. All right. So we have a negative exponent. So before we can do anything, we need to get rid of this negative. So the only way, that means it needs to move. If it's on the bottom, we need to move it to the top. So when we move it to the top, we have 4 raised to the second power. Okay? By moving it to the numerator, okay, we could put the 1 in the denominator if you want, but anything divided by 1 is going to be itself. And now 4 squared, if they ask us to take it a step further, will give us 16. Okay, so for those that gave me fractions, do you see what happened? Okay, so it's not 16 squared. Okay, yep, so you moved it to the top. Got it? Okay. So anytime wherever that negative exponent is, that what needs to move. You just moved opposite. So if it's in the bottom, in the denominator, you move it to the numerator. If it's in the numerator, because it's a whole number, you're dropping it down to the denominator. Okay, by that drop or raise, the act of doing that, you're changing the direction of the sign. Okay. Right, but the other question, if you notice what was different, this one, the 5 and the negative thirds was in the numerator, so we dropped it down in the denominator. This one was already in the denominator, so we had to move it to the numerator. Where does the 1 go? It could go underneath. Actually, the 1 actually can stay. Okay? Because anything times 1 is going to be itself. Anything divided by 1 is going to be itself. So it's still not going to be a fraction when you move it up into the numerator. Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, So remember, we're doing the properties of exponents. Okay, we're doing the properties of exponents. We're not multiplying. There's no 2. It's not like it's 1/4, a parenthesis 1/4. Okay, so there's only 1/4, 1/4 there. That makes sense. Okay, awesome. All right, so we did the negative rule, we did the zero rule, we did the product, we did the quotient. Now, we're going to take it a step further, especially with the product and the quotient rules. Okay, there's an extension of these, and it involves a parenthesis. So before I get to that, let's take a look. Let's see if we can. There's about 241 of us. If we can get it up to like, what, 12K, I would appreciate it. Actually, 10K. I'm good with 10K. So if we can do a mad tap while I set things up, and if you have questions, put it in the chat, guys. This is a safe space. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I don't know who Shantae is, but she came to my live. Oh my God. Who's doing that? I ain't got no time. I'm in a room in my house by my damn self. What am I going to tell? The cats? Seriously, what they going to do? Just look at me like, where's the treats? Don't care about your issues. Feed me. Make sure I have water. And then let me outside to do cat stuff. That's all I care about. Okay? All right. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much for the roses. All right. So let me set this bad boy up. You confused how we got 125 in the previous? Sure. Okay. So when you're looking at 5 to the third power, this is the same as saying 5 times 5 times 5. Not 5 times 3. That 3 is not the same size as that 5. Okay, so that is your exponent. So we are multiplying this base of 5 to itself 3 times. Hence the 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 gives me 25. And 25 times 5 gives me my 125. Okay. How you doing, life hack? Is that better? Okay, you're welcome. So here's my thing. Life hack 1, thank you for asking that question, because I know at least good 2, maybe, well, we got 227. Oh, there's no place like home. Okay, sorry. Probably a good 200 people was probably thinking the same question and didn't want to ask it. Okay, guys, we're not in middle school anymore. It's okay. This is a safe space. If anyone tries to heckle or jekyll anybody, trust me, I'll just remove them. I don't care. If TikTok removes me forever, just because I was just being my real self, and you don't know where's she gonna be? I can tell you right here and now, this is exactly where I would go. Okay? So if you ever need me, if anything should ever happen to me, we all should have a safety net. This is where I would be. Okay? Yes, I do have a Facebook. Yes, I do have an Instagram, but I'm feeling pretty much not really at home, but I'm feeling pretty comfortable here. So if anything should happen, just go here, type in the name ACG Math Tutoring or my name. You can do a search that way, which is, whoops, can't see all of it. Okay, which is Audrey Codner. Okay. And once you get all of that, that's where you go. All of my lives, okay, every live since February 2nd is basically there. There is a playlist that says TikTok Lives. You can go there and just type in whatever you want that's like algebra component and then have fun watching. You can pause it, you can rewind it, you can play it when you're at the gym, you can play it wherever you want to go. You know, any place that will kind of help you to understand the concepts step by step. Okay, so I would love for you guys to do these 5 things. I would greatly appreciate that. Yes, give me one moment. Okay, so this is where you need to be if you want to go there. Okay, free subscription. All right, so here we have a section for, we can put all our stuff in here. You can have a place with your formulas, a place with your steps, a place that you can actually do work on, maybe even do like a mood tracker to see how you're feeling with the stuff. You can take worksheets, and if you want to paste it or cut it and tape it inside the book, you can do that. Sometimes your teachers might want to have a whole worksheet. You can tape it in one side, and then on the other side, you can summarize what's on that worksheet. So you don't have to keep carrying all these packets everywhere you go. It makes you crazy. Okay? And then in the very back, it gives you the resource page. So this is for your factors chart. Goes from 1 to 200. So if we're not strong with the multiplication table, trying to find your perfect combination to break down radicals, regular factoring, GCFs, LCMs, they're all there. And several other resources that you can use as we're walking through these. We're going to get down to the powers of a power. Powers are products, so that's our next steps. And then just reminders of certain things. Okay. And then we also have a conversion chart. And then if you can't remember the areas of perimeters or circumference, Pythagorean theorem, a little bit of trig. This one is for algebra and algebra 1, and I do have one for algebra 2 and calculus. So I will be working on that one. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're going to have to go with the live because I'm almost done. I got half an hour left. Okay, so what we're going to do, thank you so much for tapping while I was talking. That's generally what happens here. So power to a power. Okay, so now we're going into power to a power. So if I have a base, let's say M, and your base is being raised to, or your expression is being raised to a power, we're going to keep our base, but we're going to multiply our exponents. So anytime you see a parenthesis being separate or exponents being separated by a parenthesis, you're multiplying the exponents. Okay, so let's see. So if we have 2, let's say 2 to the 8th raised to the 3rd power. Okay. So if we have 2 to the 8th raised to the 3rd power. Okay. 2 to the 8th raised to the 3rd power. So this is telling me I'm going to keep my base of 2, and I am multiplying my exponents. We are no longer using x for multiplication when you get into algebra. Let it go. Just let it go. I know it's hard because you've been dealing basically with x's for the longest time. I know sometimes in the GEDs they may slip up and forget to take all the x's out, and that means multiplication, especially with order of operations, and they do the same thing for the ASVAB as well as the IBEW. They forget to pull out the x's, okay? So that means multiplication. But the only time you see that is when they're dealing with order of operations, okay? So here, that means we're keeping that base of 2, and we have an exponent of 24. So for the person that said, where can they purchase it? They can purchase it here. Now, like I said earlier, which I'm going to repeat again, I am having a 50% off birthday sale. Birthday with an F. For the whole month of September. So all of my books, this book, my my left-handed books, my Audrey's notes, all of it's going to be 50% off, and that starts tomorrow. Okay, save a little bit of cash, be able to buy maybe 2 books. There we go. Okay, so we're just doing it for the whole month of September, and generally it takes about like a week for your books to arrive. Okay, so we're trying to do that. Yep, it is in there, but I can't say that anymore because, we can't say that on the Kaya, we can't say it in the chat because TikTok will shut this down. And they almost shut me down a couple of times. That's why I don't say, that's why I have this stuff. I know it sounds like I have no intelligence, but this is what I have to do now to pick all those things out. So there will be a sale starting tomorrow, because as soon as I'm done with the lives and all that stuff today, that's what I'm going to be doing, is like making sure I change all those prices so you can take advantage of it. Oh, thank you, Jordan Square. J Square. Thank you. Yep. And a whopping Labor Day sale extended for an entire month. There it is, Michael. How are you? Okay. All right. So let me do another one like this. And let me do it like, let me do this. Let me add. Let me add a little bit to it. And you're probably like, oh, Lord, Audrey, adding stuff to it. Yes, she is. Okay, because this is going to kind of lead us into our other thing. All right. All right. So, in this case, not only you're going to multiply the -3 and the 4, but we're also going to raise the whole number, that 3, to the 4th power. So it's almost like you are distributing this exponent to everything inside of that parenthesis. So it's going to look something like this. So we have 3 raised to the 4th power times x raised to the -3 times 4. Because remember, when you have a power being raised to a power like this and separated by a parenthesis, you are multiplying those exponents. So this is going to carry us into the next part, but I want to do it here because I'm crazy. What's 3 to the 4th power? Don't say 12, Michael. Okay. What's 3 to the 4th power? There we go, Kaya. Thank you. So 3 to the 4th power, that's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, 3 times 3, that gives me 9. 9 times 9 gives me 81. Okay, so here we are with our 81. And then we have our x. What is our x being raised to? Okay, in God we trust. Awesome. So 3 raised to the 4th power, x raised to the -12. Jasmine with the -12. Good. Now, good. KC, good job. Laurent, excellent. With the -12s. Are we done? Let's see if I put that here. Turn this fan on. Are we done? Not really. Why not really? What's wrong with this situation? Ooh, good question. Twitch, good question. Negative 3 times 4, that'll give us our negative 12. Okay, that's how so we need to remove the negative. Yes. How do we move? So basically, what is being raised by that negative 12 is not this whole entire thing. It's just the x. So what do we remember about negative exponents? What do we have to do? Yep, we can't have a negative in the exponent. Excellent. You're welcome. Yes. Good job, Ricky. We need to do the reciprocal. So that means what's being raised to the negative 12 needs to drop in the denominator. So what stays in the numerator is going to be the 81. But what drops in the denominator is going to be my x to the 12th. But instead of a negative 12, it's going to be a positive 12. So this looked at basically like 2, possibly 3 different properties. Okay? We had the negative property. We had the power to the power. All right? And then the next part, which is called product to a power, really. All right. So that will be our official answer right there. Just for that one. So as you notice, negative exponent, just what had the negative exponent associated, that's what dropped in the denominator. The 81 stayed right where it is because it's not being raised to a negative exponent. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm glad you guys are sticking with me. I know some people are like, oh, this is hard. I'm out. Well, guess what? When it's time for you to take your GED and your ASVAB, you're not quitting on anybody else except for yourself. And I don't want you to do that. Okay? I'm coming from a person that used to suck at math. Like I went to my mom, I went to my dad trying to find help. Psh, nope. And I didn't have the internet back there. I'm almost 53 years old. I remember when the internet first came out. I remember when Commodore's VIC came out as a computer. I remember when Apple came out as a computer. Damn, I'm old. Right? Yes, the dial-up. I remember when we actually had floppy disks. Remember those? You had to be so careful with them. God forbid, if there was a little bent in it, psh, you're done. I remember, like, we had to learn how to do coding, and I didn't understand what was going on back then. If someone explained it to me then, psh, who knows what my life will be like now. Okay. Teachers will. Yeah, teachers will. But remember, if we're taking a test, they're not. They're not taking the answer. Well, if you get the wrong answer, obviously they're taking points away. Okay. So that, yes. It's old here. Okay. All right. So, next part is kind of similar to what we did with the last one. Okay. But this is called where are we? We have the product to a power. Okay, it's very similar to what we did with this last one. Let me unzoom quite a bit. Okay. So now with the product of a power, when you have multiple things, and that's exactly what we did up here, we have multiple things being raised to a power, to an exponent, that means everything is being carried with that exponent. Okay? So it's very similar to what we did with up here. Okay, very similar to what we did up here. Kind of got a little excited. So if I have, let's see. Okay, so if I have 3x to the negative second power, y to the fifth power, and let's say the whole thing is being squared, raised to the second power. Okay, well, thank you, Brian. So Jordan Square is going to take practice. Okay, it's going to take practice because eventually it's not so much a formula, it's kind of a way. Okay, so it's going to take a lot of practice. You can easily download worksheets online that says exponents. You know, Properties of Exponents worksheet or Properties of Exponents practice sheets. There's tons, because I know there's a lot of people, if you ever put anything on the website, it's there. It's there to stay for like years to come. Okay. Okay. When you doing your products, you probably came in a little late. So when you are multiplying, you add the exponents. When you have a power being raised to a power, you're multiplying the exponents. Okay. So here, basically, we're going to take this squared and we're going to raise everything. That includes the 3, the -2, and the 5. We're raising everything to the second power. So if I may rewrite this, this is saying I have 3 being raised to the second power. I have x -2 being raised to the second power. And I have y to the fifth being raised to the second power. And so everything is being raised to the second power. Okay, so remember, 3 squared, that means 3 times 3. Okay, that 2 is not of the same stature of this 3. If they're the same stature, you multiply them. But if they are not, that means I'm multiplying this base of 3 to itself 2 times. So 3 times 3 will give me a 9. Okay, so 3 times 3 will give me a 9. Okay, there you go, and God, appreciate you. All right, I'm going to put it right here. So now here we have x raised to the -2nd power being raised to the second power. Anytime you see 2 exponents that are being separated by a parenthesis, you multiply the exponents. Okay. Curriculum slacked off quite a bit. I love your channel. Oh, well, thank you. It's helping you so much. Good. Good, good, good. Now, if you need anything, I do have a course that can kind of help you with the algebra, probably help you catch up. Okay, just let me know. Okay, so we have -2 times 2. So this will give us a -4. So x is being raised to the -4th power. Are we okay so far? Okay, good, Jasmine. We're good. All right. And then I do see a couple people with the y's. There we go. All right. So now for the y's, we have y to the 5th power being raised to the 2nd power. When you see exponents When being separated by a parenthesis, that means you're multiplying your exponents. So this gives us y to the 10th. Why is it not positive 4? Because when you multiply and your signs are opposite, your answer is always negative. Okay, a negative times a positive is always negative. Okay. All right, so not 5. 3005. Make sure it's a negative 4 because it's a negative 2 times 2. So now, what needs to drop in the denominator? Drop to the denominator. Okay. What do we need to drop to the denominator? Thank you, Ricky. Ricky! So we have x raised to negative 4. Good, Kaya. Good. 3005 GI. Okay. I joined in earlier. Okay. All right. Okay, late. Okay. All right. So took it up. Good. So just your x is the only thing that needs to drop in that denominator, because that's the only thing that's being raised to a negative exponent. Okay, so when we drop it down, drop it like it's hot. So it's going to look like this. What stays is going to be your 9 and the y to the 10th. What goes down in the denominator is going to be your x to the 4th. Okay, and it's going to be positive. Okay. Is it a matter of preference to put it in the denominator versus being negative? Nope, it's not preference. It's only when it's negative, that's what goes down to the denominator. If it's in the denominator and it's negative, it's going to go up to the numerator. Okay, we don't, math-wise, we do not like to have negatives as our exponents, especially at the high school level. College level, they'll leave it. Like, you know, all this stuff called rationalizing the denominator. I know some university people are just like, yeah, just leave the square root. Okay. So many hours we have spent rationalizing denominators. He's like, yeah, just leave it. I'm like, okay, all right. I know, okay. So yeah, it's a rule. Yep. Because you missed out on that. It's a negative rule. Not just because Audrey said so. Okay. It's a negative rule. You took it in high school? Okay, good. Not a problem, Patty. Good. Was it 5 times 2? Yep. Because since my 5 is being raised to the second power, they're both exponents. So it's not 5. It's like 5. How should I put it? It's an exponent being raised to a power being raised to a power. So you multiply those exponents. Hey, Jazz. Ooh, go ahead, girl. Do it up. I appreciate you. Okay, not a problem. Not a problem. All right. Okay. And we have one more rule. You're like, what? There's another one? Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Okay, we have one more rule. One more time. Give me a moment. And if we can tap to 20, that will be oh so fabulous. Hey, Van, how are you? this. Let me move this over a little bit. So let's say we have A divided by B, and they're both being raised to the n power. So that means your A is going to be raised to the n power, and your B is going to be raised to the n power. So I know you can easily get overwhelmed, and the reason why you're possibly getting overwhelmed is because you're trying to memorize all these. Can't memorize them. And you just have to expose yourself to it through practice. Okay? Once you start feeling tensed, you can't learn. Like, that's just a bare written fact. When you are on high alert and you're tense, you can't remember stuff. As hard as you try, you can't. You have to be in a calm state. So right now, just take in the experience. And it's just like I said, I have all of these are being recorded, okay? And all of the recordings you can get here, okay? Just go here, either this or my name, and you can watch the videos. If you're like, I think I'm getting it, you might need to see the videos more than once. And I'm not saying this like, oh, you're helping me get my playlist up. That's great and that's fine. But you watch it, you pause it, you rewind it. Okay, the more exposure you get to it, the better it's going to be. Okay, so it's almost like that one thing, that one mantra, like people were saying about like 4 years ago, I think it was here on TikTok. I don't chase, I attract. Just with knowledge. You don't chase after the knowledge, because then you're running around like a freaking hamster on a wheel. Just enjoy the experience, try to make the connections, and then take it from there. Okay? All right? Nice and easy. Okay? Lots of practice. That's all it is. Just getting some practice. Okay? All right? You are no longer that child in that middle school class with all the people, and you were afraid to say anything because everybody wanted to go to recess, as opposed to having you saying, I don't understand it. Okay? We were all that quiet kid. Okay? All of us. All right. So, taking a look at, let's take a look at this one. So we have our 2. I'm obsessed with 2s lately. I don't know what's going on. 5y, and let's say to the 3rd power. Okay. So 2 over 5y raised to the 3rd power. Okay? And that's funny, because once you get out of the swing of it, yeah, you lose it if you don't use it. And that's what happens. Like, after college, we decide to go whatever route that we want to do, and we rely on the apps now. We rely on the calculators. We rely on those things. And that's fine. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I just feel for the people that are going back to college because they're trying to keep their jobs. And I know quite a few that are trying to keep their jobs, a job that they've been doing for 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden they say, oh, this is a position for someone that graduated from college. So now they're going to community college, and they haven't been in school since they were a fetus, and now they're being asked to do algebra, and they're like, my job has nothing to do with algebra, but you need it in order to keep your job. And then you have a teacher that's going like 250 miles an hour, and you're like, wait, day 1 was kind of cool, but then all hell broke loose. What the hell just happened? And then you're frustrated, you're overwhelmed, you're wondering, am I going to be able to keep my house? What am I going to do if I don't have a job? And then you're stressing. So this is when you come over here and you say, hey, Audrey, help me. And I said, I got you. Let's go through this together. because this is what Khan Academy can't give you. Khan Academy cannot give you interaction. That's what the problem is. Okay? So you're studying now for the TEAS test? Good. Now, Jasmine, are you also following a blessed RN? Because she does a lot of nursing things as well. Okay. Nailed every bit of it? I know. Because you know why I know? I've been there. I've been there as a student. Definitely. And I try not to be there as a teacher. That's how I teach this way. I break things down step by step. So we're raising everything. That means the 2, as well as the 5, and as well as the y to the 3rd power. Now, 2 to the 3rd power, that's 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 gives me 4. 4 times 2 gives me 8. Okay? And if you can't remember that, guess what? My handy dandy notebook, 2 to the 3rd power gives me 8. Okay? So this has your cubes, your cube roots, your squares, and your square roots. We have these squares engraved in our heads. But then once we get into Algebra 1, no one's taken the chance and the opportunities to engrave this in our heads. So this is why I have it here in my handy dandy notebook. Okay? So same thing with 5 cubed. 5 cubed, 125. Okay? The more exposure you have with these, eventually by the time the end of the school year, you won't need to look at it. Because that's what happens. You just need proper exposure. Hey, Andy. How are you? Oh, with the gifts. Stop. My bestie is in here. So we got 125. Y to the 3rd power. Okay. There's no negative exponents. We don't want to simplify because we already did the cubing. So this is our answer. Oops. Let's drill a hole in it. Okay. Questions. Dude, what are you doing? All of these. Couple high bears. Jeez. I appreciate it. My God. All right. Questions. Put it in the chat. Is your biggest challenge. Okay. Now, here's the thing, Chris. When they literally say simplify, that's all you're doing. They will say simplify or solve. Okay. When they say simplify, you're just breaking it on down. Okay. Once you do the distributive and you get all of this, just solve. And plus, look at your answer choices. Majority of the time, they're not going to leave it like this. Okay, so that's when you're going to have to take it one step further. All right, not a problem. Oh, when will you use this in real life? I know, I feel like I answer this I should have a recording and just play it. Ready? All right, so here's my thing. Fairly recently, one of my former students got a receptionist job, like receptionist, answering phones, filing things. And in her interview, she had to do algebra. So this whole thing is starting to expand. They're using it as a way to divide and conquer. Who should be in their company, who should not be in their company. So I'd rather say for you, you can go in that situation and say, ooh, I've seen this before, versus, what the hell is this? I've never seen this a day in my life. Okay? I want to give you as much exposure to any math because a lot of this stuff is already put out there on apps. But what happens when the app crashes? Or when a lot of people try to do this on ChatGPT, sometimes the answers that ChatGPT gives you is way wrong. Okay? So there's no escaping it. Okay? You need this, 1, to expand your mind, 2, to expand yourself into hopefully a better situation. And that's what I want for you. Okay, I don't want you to just sit and hear. That's the game that we have to play. So it's either you play it or you have to sit down and suck it up. And I don't want you to sit down and suck nothing up. Here's my 666 things coming out. Horns go back down. All right. So I know there's a lot of people that will do it. It all depends on exactly, and it all depends on what career path you want to do. So if you just want to like work and like basic stuff, yeah, you're going to have to deal with basic math. Because I've actually saw one student that used to attend one of my high schools working as a cashier and had to use a calculator. I didn't have him in my classroom. I did not, because that was not going to fly. Trying to make change. And I'm like, holy hell. How are you living? So I had to work with this kid for like a good month because I just couldn't let him go through that. So he's doing so much better now, thank God. Hey Charmaine, how are you? Okay, you need to get my idea on the gunner. You know, you're hanging out with me, so anything's possible. Yes. See, a lot of people want to just take pictures and ChatGPT and then get an answer, and then they wonder why it's wrong. Because sometimes they're not seeing, and especially a lot of the AI is not perfected yet. That's why a lot of teachers, if you notice, if you have kids, if you notice their quizzes are handwritten, because the kids can't use, they don't understand the handwritings just yet. So they will think that a 7 will be something else. So that's why a lot of teachers handwrite their work, like homeworks and quizzes, but they have no control over the assessments because that comes from the district. Yes, good. I was worried about this happening to me. What happening to you? Just what did I do in order? Okay. So first thing that I did, so this is for Dylan. So if anyone else needs this again. All right. So the first thing I did, I raised everything in here to the third power. So I raised the 2 to the third power, the 5 to the third power, and the y to the third power. So then I had to figure out 2 to the third power, that's 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. That's where the 8 came from. Then we have 5 to the third power. That's 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5, that's 25. 25 times 5 gives me 125. And then the y to the third power just stayed y to the third power because the exponent was positive and it could stay right where it is. Okay. Are you good, Dylan? Okay. There he is again. Hi. Addicted. No problem. All right. So let me see. Let's see if we can do a couple combinations just to make sure we're on the same path. All right. So what I'm going to do is take this away. If it's negative, then you're going to have to do the reciprocal. You're going to have to flip it. Okay, then you will have to flip it. All right. So just to make sure we're on the right path, we're not going to do all of these because Mama's got stuff to do. So we're going to try to look at AC and we're going to try E. Okay, so I'm just going to go straight down. All right, so first off, let's cover up so you guys will not be like, wait, which one am I doing? I'm confused. I need an adult. You're doing all that fun stuff. All right, so here we go. So everything inside of this parenthesis is being raised to the second power. Okay? Everything in that parenthesis is being raised to the second power. So that means the 2 is being raised to the second power. The x to the 8th is being raised to the second power. And the y to the negative 4th is being raised to the second power. Let me unzoom just a little bit so you guys can see everything. Okay. All right, so Jasmine is saying 4 x to the 64th, y to the negative 6. Is it Kesha or Kasia? Is saying 4 x to the 16th, y to the negative 8th. I'm saying 16. Okay. Okay, Kai is saying 4 x to the 16th over y to the 8th. Okay, Laurent saying 4 x to the 64th over y to the negative 8th. Okay. Let's take a gander, because I know some people are like, I'm waiting for you, Audrey. So, 2 to the second power, I agree. That will give me 4. Now, we have 8 to the 8th raised to the second power. 2 exponents being separated by a parenthesis, that means we're multiplying our exponents. So that will give us x to the 16th. Same thing is happening with the y's. We have a negative 4 being multiplied by a 2. So that will give me y to the negative 8. Okay. So now, what is actually being raised by a negative exponent? The 4, the x, or the y? What's being raised by the negative exponent? Jasmine saying the y. Okay, good. Beagle, the y. Riance. Okay, saying y. Jordan Square, y. Discipline, y. Salvation, x. Not the x. Amanda Joe with the y. User 5166 with the y. Yes. Only the y has a negative exponent. So just the y with its 8th is going to drop down to the denominator. So the only things that's staying in the numerator is my 4x to the 16th over y, but to the 8th. That's your answer. Because this needs to drop down into the denominator. Yes, anytime you have a negative exponent, it needs to be flipped. Think about it. You see someone negative, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to flip them. You want to flip them until they turn positive. Or you just flip them off to the side or something, right? Yes, anytime it's a negative exponent, you flip it. Yep. Yes, ma'am, I'm telling you. I'm like, I need for your attitude to change. You need an adjustment. Real quick. It's either you change it or me. One of the two. Okay? I told you, God's working on me. God's working on me. I'm a work in progress. I'm so aggressive. Anyway. So now, everyone's good. Okay. Boom, pow. We're going back to Batman now. Oh, funny. All right, so see, we have -7 xy to the 4th times -2 x to the 5th y to the 6th. Okay, let me give you a moment. Give it a try. Give it a try. Give it a try. Yes, Art. But what do we do with the exponents, Art, when you multiply? What do you do with the exponents? You did it. Well, yes. Good, Art. So hopefully if you're stuck, you see what Art put in the chat. Okay? Do we multiply them? And I answered yes. And then look at his response about what do we do with the exponents when we multiply. There you go. All right. Beyonce. Okay. Ricky. Okay. It's a positive 14. There you go, Beyonce. Good. Why isn't it times? A negative times a negative positive here. It is. It is. So positive 14, yes. Yep. Oh, you said negative by mistake? Okay. Okay. So -7 times -2 gives me a positive 14. So now we're getting our x's. If you don't see an exponent, it's assumed that there is a 1 there. So you have x to the 1st power times x to the 5th power. That keeps that base of x, but you add the exponent, which will give me to the 6th power. Same thing with the y's. You have y to the 4th power times y to the 6th power, and that 4 plus 6 will give us 10. Okay. Good. In God we trust. Nice one. Okay. So you multiply the whole numbers with the whole numbers. If you want to see it written out, that'll be -7 times -2. Then it'll be x times x to the 5th. And then it's y to the 4th times y to the 6th. That's what, wait, let me unzoom a little bit. Okay. So then you just group them. Do those, that'll give me my 14. Do that, that'll give me my x to the 6. And then do that, will give me my y to the 10. Okay. No, there's no equation to balance, guys. There is no equation. It is not negative 7 to the 4th power. No. Because you're not distributing an exponent of 4 to everything inside the parenthesis. You're just multiplying whole number with whole number. Or integer with integer, I should say. Exactly. Keep it simple. Easy. Relax. Okay. All right. Does this one follow? This is the product rule. This is the second one that we did. Okay, that's the second one that we did. So when you're multiplying and they have the same base, you add the exponents. Okay. All right. All right. Last one. I'm going to have to wrap it up because I got to get going. All right. Oh, yes. There's no escaping this. There is no escaping this. So let me zoom in a little bit. Oops. Okay. So negative 35 x squared y to the 4th and 5x to the 6th y to the negative 8. You're glad you're only in 8th grade? Yeah, don't worry. This is all going to catch up, but it's going to be glorious. You're going to be ahead of the game, and that's what we want you to do. So while everybody else is doing long division, you're breaking down exponents like a G. Okay, so that's when you're going to have to step up and do your own. Okay, and how you have 21 assignments already? And if you need help, if you need a tutor to help break it down, let me know. Okay, talk to your mama. Someone actually called me for a tutoring session. The guy, you can actually hear that it was a young kid, and he was in the 5th grade. And I said, dude, I need to talk to your mom or whoever your guardian is. He was like, oh, you could talk to my mans. Say what? What's happening here? Talk to your who? To your mans. Oh, hell no. Yeah, that, let's just say we parted ways. We parted ways. I can't. I just cannot. Okay. Yeah, it is time consuming, but you have to create that time. Okay, just as much as you're on here and we're breaking stuff down, sometimes you might just need that other person to say, you're good. Keep going. Why are you going backwards? Keep going. You got this. Keep going. All right. Yup. So do not. Now, flip the negative what, Shrek? Flip the negative what? Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure. Because some people will be like, oh yeah, da-da-da. All right, so let's break it into small little sections. So negative 35 over 5, that's going to happen. X squared over x to the 6, that's going to happen. Y to the 4th over y to the negative 8. Now, we're dividing. So when you divide, you subtract your exponents. Here's the thing. But the whole numbers, we're actually going to divide. So negative 35 divided by 5, yes, that does give me my 7. Negative 7, in fact. Now, Remember when I was showing you the division? It was this one in red. Whoa, that's major zoom. Sorry. This one right here. And we had 2 x's up here. We had 5 x's down here. And when we did the canceling out, we have 3 x's remaining down in the denominator. We can do the same thing here. Why don't we think this way? Ready? You have 2 x's in the numerator. You have 6 x's in the denominator. If I do 6 minus 2, I will get 4. But where are those 4 x's located? In the numerator or in the denominator? Where are those 4 x's located? In the numerator or in the denominator? Someone's saying up top. Denominator. Hey, JB. Okay, denominator. Lisa. Everyone's coming out of the woodwork. Okay, got numerator, got denominator, 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 denominator. Why not just do 2 minus 6? You can. If you do 2 minus 6, you're going to get a negative 4. And then you're going to have to bring that negative 4 and take it to the denominator. You can do that. Again, I keep telling you guys, I'm lazy. Okay? If I can get a mini shortcut, I will take it. I know I have 2 x's up here that's multiplying. I know I have 6 x's down here that's multiplying. If I do the subtraction, I'm going to get 4 x's that's left over in the denominator. So why not keep it in the denominator? Because it's going to end up being down there anyway. Because if you said x with the, let's try again. X raised to the negative 4th power. Oh yeah, I got to bring that to the denominator. Then you got to bring it down to the denominator. You're just killing one step off. Okay? Now here, I got 4 minus a negative 8. A lot of people say, hey, we need to move that y to the negative 8 up top. You can do that. But guess what's happening here? It's 4 minus a negative 8. What happens when you minus a negative? What happens when you minus a negative? JB's saying it turns positive. Okay? So we can add them. It's going to turn positive. Right? So you can flip it, but it's simply when you minus a negative, it turns positive. So we really have 4 plus 8 happening right here. And what's 4 plus 8? That's 12. And that y to the 12th is going to be in the numerator. Now, where the 1 come from is anytime there's nothing left in the numerator, we have to put a 1 there. We have to put something, okay, to even out this fraction. All right. So we can clean all this stuff up. The only thing that should be in the denominator is that x to the 4th. So this is what it looks like. We have a negative 7. We have a y to the 12th over x to the 4. Not a problem. So it's all these things. I'm new here. All right. So you split everything in their own radicals. It makes it a little, or their own fractions. Makes it easier to see. So negative 335 divided by 5, that gives me my negative 7. So when you're dividing and you have the same base, you're actually subtracting the exponents. Oh, you're talking about the y's? Okay, got you. Thank you. So we have 4 minus a negative 8. So when you're minusing a negative 8, it's the same as saying 4 plus 8. So 4 plus 8 actually gives us 12. Okay? So it's going to give us just a whole 12. It's not going to give me a negative 12, so I don't have to move anything in the denominator. So that y to the 12th is going to stay in the numerator with the negative 7. And the only thing that's in the denominator is what we get with our x's. Because 2 minus 6 gives me a negative 4. But if I do the breaking down, let me do it over here. X times x over my 6x's. So if I do it like this, these cancel out, these cancel out. So this gives me a 1, this gives me a 1. 1 times 1 gives me a 1. And what's left? I got 4 x's left in the denominator. So there's my 4 x's that are left in the denominator. Okay, not a problem. Are you in New York? School starts in a week? Where are you located? Remus. Do you always have to do the whole numbers first? I like to do the whole numbers first. Okay, all right. What do you mean in a week? You guys are starting Wednesday. Aren't you starting this week? Or you're a different borough? Do I have 1-to-1? Yes, I do 1-to-1. I was like, babes, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, sorry to bust your bubble there, buddy. But yeah, that's why your freedom is like tomorrow and Tuesday. What's MTEL? What is that, Steven? See, every state has different names for their stuff. It's the same concept, they just have different names. So if I ever say, yeah, what's that? So if you guys want to do 1-to-1 tutoring, where'd my paper go? Here it goes. All right, if you ever want to do 1-to-1 tutoring, you can catch me here. Okay, just fill out the contact form, or you can hit the Service Plus button at the bottom and just send me a text message, or not text message, send me an email, and then I'll get back to you ASAP. Okay, thank you. Is this the first round or the second? So you're starting pre-calculus next week, not knowing this. Yeah, did they give you guys like a summer packet for all those that are just like, yeah, I'm going to be starting? I love how everybody's saying next week. Because I thought all the schools come back after Labor Day. And today is Sunday. Unless I've lost a day. Not a problem. Hey! I can't wait. Yes, make sure you send me the stuff because we're on Wednesday. Okay. All right, 1-to-1. I thought, it was 1-to-1. It is 1-to-1. What are you talking about? Yep. I do small group, I do private. That's my 1-to-1, or I do small group. So like if you guys are taking a class and you know like you have friends in that class and they're just as lost as you are, that's the worst. When you go to your friends and they're like, I don't know. and y'all still sitting there trying to figure stuff out. You got 3 blind, lost people trying to figure it out. No, that's frustrating, okay? We can build a small group, and of course there is a group rate, okay? Now, my private, I am very expensive. I'm going to let you know. But for my TikTok people, I do it for $67. My privates, it's at $92 because I'm good like that. All right, so I am expensive. So if you want to do a group rates, we can do like a group of 5. We can do a group of 3. We can do a pairing. Okay, that brings that price even a little bit lower. Okay, so I'm just letting you know right here, right now. Okay, perfect. That'll be awesome. Okay, so if you guys want to get together with a group, if you're all doing the same concepts, let's say like you're in Algebra 1, you might be slightly different spots, but it's definitely manageable for us to all come together. I'm more than willing to do that. I tried to do that last year, but it was kind of close to the end. But I'm willing to do stuff. I'm willing to get groups because that will be best. So get out your little comfort zone, talk to the people in your classes, and say, hey, anybody want to go halves on a tutoring session? We got this woman. She's amazing. Not to toot my own horn, but here we are. Toot, toot. All right. So, okay, let me get myself together. All right. So, lastly, again, if you're interested in the math notebooks, all right, they are going on sale tomorrow, 50%. I will be making an announcement again. All right, so if anything, a place for you to organize your notes, a place for you to put your formulas, put your steps, have room to write down all your stuff. It's roughly like 100 pages of the dotted and also the grid section. But then you also get the resources in the very back, your factor charts, your references. All of these come together. This is the pre-algebra and algebra 1. The algebra 2 and the calculus ones, that's where you're going to see the unit circle. I decided to split it up and give you guys really what you're going to be using. Okay, so that's why I divided it up this time. All right, so the sale is only for this section here. So you only get it here. They are available on the A, you know, the brown box with the smile on it. They are available there, but the sale is not going to be effective there. They didn't want me to do that. I don't know why. I don't know. So many hoops. So this goes for all of my notebooks, even my left-handed notebooks for my lovely lefties. You guys get the same exact thing with my lefty edition, as well as 50% off of Audrey's notes. So if you just want my notes that I usually have here on TikTok, this is book number 3. I have books 1 through 5 available. So what is just like copies of my actual notes, but it comes with a QR code and it takes you directly to the live that's associated with the notes. So if you want to do a following along type thing, that would be great. But if you're getting yourself ready for, say, GED, ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, this is very sporadic. Okay, it does not come as a curriculum. If you want a curriculum to follow something, you definitely need to come here, which it is in my BI bingo was his name-o. Okay, if you click on that, sign up for one of the self-paced courses. Okay, so if you're doing for the GED, the ASVAB, the T's, even if you're just doing for foundational algebra, there's roughly 107 videos with practice problems, practice sheets that you can download, as well as some quizzes on there. Okay, so if you need something that's going to give you practice, do not get the Audrey's notes, because some people are like, oh, I thought it was a workbook. No, the workbook is not out yet. I'm still wrapping my head around it, and I don't know why I'm so hesitant to create it. I think I just have to get over my insecurities for 5 seconds and then just start writing. Okay? But I really think the course is going to help you out because it has a lot more step-by-step instruction. You can stop, you can rewind, you can revamp, do all of that. Okay, so if you need something more of a structural thing, go for the self-paced. Plus, I have one that can include like 2 30-minute tutoring sessions with it as well. Okay, so that's the 197 one. All right. Okay. Oh, like that. Okay, what trade do you typically learn exponents for the first time? What trade? Oh my God. We're exponents? Like everything. Because exponents is just fast multiplication. And then plus, if you're trying to figure out how much Burt's Bees I need to fill this in order for me to make a profit, that's volume. That's cube right there. And then we're only just doing the squares and the cubes. We do a lot of those, but there's more to it. Okay. Well, I'm glad. I'm so glad. All right. So we're almost at 40. If we just want to kind of hit right there. Need help getting ready for college? Now, what class are you taking? And again, if you guys really just like, I really need a tutor, like right now, I think I'm okay, but I know things are going to get hard and I really want to, then finally just reach out. Until God takes me, as I say that, I will be here. You know, you can easily DM me. You can do all these things. Okay. You want to be a nurse? Okay. So here's my thing. Please, before you do anything, you have to make sure you understand how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. You need your multiplication tables. And especially for nursing, you need to know how to do your conversions. Okay, how to change milliliters to liters. That's vital. We are trying to help people, not off them of the planet. Okay. And also, if you guys need to follow anyone, if you're doing nursing, you can also reach out to a blessed RN, a blessed RN. And another person that you could go to is Impact Math 19, because sometimes she pulls questions. Like, guys, it takes a village. Okay. So I know people are like, why are you announcing other people? I'm like, because it takes a village. It might be you might understand me, but you really will understand someone else. So who am I to hold you back from your success? We need your greatness on this planet. Okay. But if you're doing any kind of calculus, AP calculus, AP statistics, my friend Robert is amazing. And if you need all that information, just let me know. Okay? All right. Any other questions? All right. Awesome, guys. So, again, I will see you here tomorrow night. It actually might be a little bit earlier. It might not be 9:30. It might be 7. Because I don't have my 7 o'clock peoples anymore. But I will definitely be here tomorrow night. We might do a little bit more with the exponents just to make sure that you guys are okay with that. And we'll see what we can do for, I'm probably going to come on twice. So I know possibly in the afternoon, I'm going to do one more thing with the PSATs. If you know of anyone that's going to take the PSAT, that was the other thing I wanted to do. So much stuff I'm doing. Okay, so if you know anybody that wants to take the PSAT and get ready for it, I'm actually starting a 5-week PSAT math prep program for 11th graders, okay? Because those are the years, those PSATs, those are what the colleges are looking at to figure out your scholarships and figure out how much additional money you can. So this is like a big one. Okay, it's not like the 9th grade and the 10th grade one. Like, this is a little bit bigger because money is on the line. So if you know of anybody, I'm doing on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but I'm also doing a Wednesday-Saturday combo. And each of the Wednesdays and Saturdays is not exactly the same. So it's like 2 different preps, 2 different angles, okay? So if you're interested, right now I have 4 slots left, so we can get started. And if you know anybody that wants to do it, please let me know and I can send you the information, like how much they're doing the payments. You can do it at $47 a slot, which is usually like an hour and 15 minutes, okay? But you have to stay with us for the full 5 weeks, okay? So that's the huge part, okay? That's going to be huge, all right? Not a problem. Well, have a great night. Yes, the metric system. Definitely need to get that down. So have a great night, and I will see you guys tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, okay? Have a safe day. I think people are starting to have some parties right now, which is kind of nice to listen to the music bumping, but we all know what happens after 1 o'clock. Yeah, be safe. All right. Love you guys. Take care. Bye.